as a community, we look at the word trauma as one of those uh, hush hush words.
Fall 2023.
It's a stigma around that word. Like nobody wants to be labeled or be classified under that.
Angela Marie Publishing proudly presents.
If you look at it, trauma is merely just being exposed or voluntarily or involuntarily to a situation that changes your outlook.
Sit in Your Shit, a 30-day guided journal for processing a crisis.
Get down on the slam.
The blacked out couch.
All right, well, let's get this started, man. As always, want to thank everybody for tapping in with us tonight for Unpacking episode 11 of the Blacked Out Couch podcast. Tonight we diving into the brothers' last episode on the couch, which was centered around hypersexuality in our community. The house rules are simple. If this is your first time being here, rule number one is one mic. Everybody be respectful of who has the floor. Everybody be respectful of the next point of view. And we all here to be open and honest, and hopefully we can walk away with something that can, give us a better understanding. So, again, on the brothers' last episode, man, we talked about the culture of hypersexuality. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, the link is in the header. You can also stream it on YouTube, Spotify, all the podcast apps. So anyway, we talked about the elephant in the room and tried to dig into the roots of our mentality about sex as a whole. Early on, boys are generally are pressured or encouraged to have sex at a young age, have as much sex as they can get. You know what I'm saying? Generally speaking, girls are encouraged to keep their legs closed or not be fast. So, one of the things that we pointed out during the episode was how the way that we're exposed to sex has a lot to do with the habits that we end up developing and carrying over into adulthood. So my first question tonight, and anybody can answer this. Of course, this is the brothers unpacking, so we want to hear from the brothers especially, but the sisters are always welcome with their points of view. So my first question tonight, with everything that I just kind of prefaced, generally speaking, do you feel like that you were taught to be fast or not to be fast? And did you end up listening to the way that you were taught, collectively speaking? Anybody can answer that. Don't everybody speak at once.
So you said that was for men, but you said fast. So I would have took that as a question for women, or am I just confused over here?
No, you're not confused, Miss Devin. I said that, this is the brothers unpacking. So, we especially want to hear from the brothers, but I said that the sisters' point of view is always welcome as well, right? But since you asked, I don't think that, I think that to define like what we mean when we say being fast, I think is more so, doing things that you ain't got no business doing if you ain't grown, right? So I think that it could probably apply gender neutral. I think the boys can be fast too. I just think that, in my opinion, boys are encouraged to be fast, right? So I think the question was really just gender neutral. Generally speaking, do you think that you were taught to be fast or not to be fast, and did you listen to that teacher?
Well, I think I could probably speak for most women when, like you said, we're typically told not to be fast. I think the word fast is typically used when um, being scorned towards a young girl, but it almost seems contradicting because if we're taught to keep our legs closed and the boys are taught to have sex, then it just seems kind of like it's just all confusing if you ask me. And then I had a question, but I'm gonna hold on to it so that people can answer your question. I'm gonna put it in the group so I don't forget it because I want you to answer, Rodney.
You want me to answer? You
Yeah.
mean like
Or
me
I just want you
specifically?
to ask it to the group because I it
Oh,
came
oh,
up
okay,
when I was watching the live, and I'm trying not to forget it now that I'm on the unpacking. So I'm gonna just drop it in there real quick.
okay.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I do think, um, as men, I wouldn't say always pressure to be able to have a lot of sex partners, but I think it's kind of encouraged. And let's kind of be, if we're gonna be honest, we're gonna be honest. If a man kind of want to know his position and how he is, a lot of that look with your look with your cooperation from women, right? So a man that uh a lot of
Hold
women
on, hold
desire.
on, Chris. Hold on, Chris. Uh, I ain't mean to cut you off, but you just gonna dive way into the rabbit hole. Let's for right now. Let's just answer that question, and then we're gonna get deeper into it. So generally speaking, again, I'm gonna just ask the question again. I love where you were going with it, but I want to hold off on it, so I'm gonna hold the tail on you for just a little bit.
Yeah,
But generally speaking, do you feel like that you were taught to be fast or not to be fast, and did you end up listening to that way you were taught?
I would say that I definitely was encouraged to, know, uh, I would agree with that. That most men are encouraged to, be able to be experienced with women. You know what I'm saying? Because the more experienced you are, the better the better your experience will be with them. So I can definitely see that. Yeah, so
Okay, hold on. Anybody else?
Well,
Mr. Williams,
I
what's
got a
going on
yeah.
with you, brother?
What's going on, man? Hey. Uh, I mean, honestly, like my, I guess you could say the pressure of being, quote unquote fast was really outside of the home for me. I grew up old school, and my mother, was talking about courting, you know, your significant other. It was, school that, kind of gave me the pressure of, oh man, you a virgin still, you know what I mean? So, I remember, one of our guys, that went to school with us. I won't put his name out there, but that went to school with us, he was still a virgin, when he was 18. And many people were surprised about that. So it's definitely encouraged for males. Not, I'm not sure about females, but definitely for males.
Okay, right on. Any other sisters want to answer that? I think Devin was the only one that was on stage, actually. I see Taraji is in the, actually a few sisters actually in the audience, but, um, you know, I got a list of other questions, but I do want to ask the question that Miss Devin posted here in the comments in the room chat. She said, "Is it encouraged for man to have sex out of fear of him being gay?" What do you brothers think about that question?
Hell no. Hell no. Ain't got nothing to do with that. I don't think, you know what I mean? But then again, I'm an 80s baby. So, it could be a type of different type of thought process, for the millennials and things like that. But Generation X, no.
Hmm. Chris, do you want to dive in on that? Okay, well I'll dive in on it.
And
Um,
just to be clear, that was coming from like a parenting standpoint, because I heard a lot of the brothers talking about how it was their fathers or their uncles that was kind of like the head of encouraging the act. So I was wondering, like, does it stem from, let me make sure my boy get this so that I can make sure that he doesn't go this way? That's where the question was coming from.
Absolutely, I understood 1,000%, and I believe Mr. Wiggs' answer was hell no. Uh, I'm gonna uh, I'm gonna disagree with him because I do believe that it does have something to do with it. I don't know that it's the only thing that's going on, but like generally speaking, and for those of us, those of y'all in the audience that didn't tune into the episode, what Miss Devon is referring to is, on the couch we talked about some of our first or initial exposures to sex, some of our early influences. And for a lot of us, it was either older cousins, uncles, and for some of us, even our fathers that exposed us or encouraged us to either be fast or try to get sex, right? And I think that yeah, for where Miss Devon is going with it, and we didn't talk about this in the episode per se, but I think that a lot of it does have to do with sort of being protective of your son's sexuality and making sure that he's interested in little girls and not in little boys. So I think that at an early age, it's something subconscious there. You may not, um, as a father, and I don't have kids, so I'm not speaking from experience, but I'm saying just generally speaking, as a father, you may not be trying to encourage your boy at the age of 4 or 5 to have sex at that age, but you are encouraging him to be interested in girls versus boys. You are telling him some of the things that little boys are allowed to do versus what they're not allowed to do, and so I think that yeah, to answer Devin's question, I think that it does have something to do with that. And I'm just going back to some of my personal experiences and some of the conversations, some of the things that are said by some of the your older cousins, your uncles, or whatever. They are trying to make sure that you're not chasing behind little boys, Mr. Wiggs. So I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I understand that. But let's think about that though. Like when we are encouraging, little boys to play with sticks and fire trucks, and the little girls is playing with dolls, and and trying to get our kids to understand what the difference is. I don't think homosexuality is we're not thinking about that though. You see what I'm saying? Like no one is no in my experience, when I'm raising my boys, I'm not thinking about that. I'm just thinking about how to raise my boys into men, if that makes sense. And I think, that type of education can be, learned at home, but uh, that's not
I,
usually
I
where we
think
get our education on that.
I think we you speak a lot from current experience, and right now I'm kind of more so past experience, like more so our childhood, not necessarily the
Hmm.
way that you parent, but
Hmm.
more so the way that you were parented. And I do feel like, man, like a lot of the things that you speak of are comes from us trying to correct some of the things that we were exposed to when we were younger, right? Would you agree with
I
that?
agree with that.
Like
Yeah.
a lot of the principles that you make sure that you teach your boys, you are trying to break generational curses, and that's because you were exposed to something different. So I think that that's where we want to kind of stay at for right now. Were we
Correct.
exposed to some crazy shit, right? Because I do feel like, I mean, like, that even becomes part of the peer pressure that you get at a young age, in our community at least. As a black teenage boy, if you not fucking or getting pussy, somebody's going to accuse you of being gay. Like that's almost kind of they weaponize that. So that's why I say I kind of agree with where Miss Devon was going with that.
I mean, in that
I
perspective,
actually,
yeah.
I agree with you, Holly. Cause my son's 17. Ever since he was young, I always encourage healthy, age appropriate interaction with girls. So you 100% correct. Like I'm gonna make sure, hey, if he gonna choose that route, it ain't gonna be it ain't gonna be on me. So I fully agree that I'm gonna preach and I'm going to encourage like age appropriate interaction with the opposite sex for my son and my daughter's 6, but as she get older, the same with her too.
Yeah, now I will say this though, based off of how it was when we were coming up, you know, uh, the times we were coming up, if you wasn't getting none, just so you wouldn't be called gay or be put, pointing a finger at and laughed at, we would lie. Because I've had that opportunity to answer the question of have you had got some before I actually got some, and I'm like, yeah, I did, yeah, I did, and it's it almost to a point to where you feel shame that you weren't, and that was something I think that in our time that was kind of detrimental. You know what I mean? I had kids before I was wanting to or ready to, so those type of situations does affect where as far as that question is concerned. You know what I mean? It does. We push them quicker to do it, and when we were younger, but now as we raise our kids, we like, okay, hold back because of that peer pressure.
Yeah, I fully agree. A couple of things that you said there. You spoke about how we would lie. We would, to fit in. We all, and I said this in the episode, and I was actually mad at you about it. I'm still mad at you, by the way. I'm probably mad at you for a little while. Uh, some of the shit that we used to tease each other about in high school. But we all used to act like we had just climbed out of some pussy whenever we seen each other. And I'm talking about teenage years, early teenage years, right? As early as maybe 13 or 14. I can remember most of my peers around me behaving in sort of that way, and it was kind of the cool thing to do, right? So, as a general consensus, I think, generally speaking, most of the brothers have said that they felt that they were taught to be fast, right? And I think generally or collectively speaking, I think that women are taught something different. Would anybody disagree or agree with that? I see there's a couple of sisters in the audience. I hate for the brothers to be speaking for y'all, but y'all can speak up at any time. But for the brothers that do have a mic, what would y'all say? Do y'all think that young girls are
Yeah,
taught the opposite?
it's like this. Like I said, we're being honest. A woman's purity, that's valuable, right? So most men who we're
That's
gonna talk about
valuable
men who,
to who? When you
what
say
I mean,
valuable, what do you mean by that?
as we know, as a woman get older, and a man decides to settle down and marry a woman, he not gonna marry no runner, right? Like what that Smokey Robinson song say? The whole town laughing at me. No man who's who can get women is gonna want a woman that had everybody in hand. Right? That just because, like I said, men and women's dating strategies are different. Women can't do what men can do. Men can't do what women can do. So purity for a woman, I'm out of breath from working out, is very valuable. Right? So if she a runner and the words get around, she a runner. Now he might fuck her, but he not about to settle down with her. Right? It's like if I walk in a room and I got a woman on my arm and none of the men had her, that's a good thing. I ain't trying to walk in a room with a woman on my arm. All these dudes that had her. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. So yes, a woman's purity, that's very valuable to her as she get older. Because a guy who's on his shit, he's not gonna settle down with no woman usually who's a runner or he knows there's a runner. That's just what it is. So it is very valuable that, hey, son, you get all pussy you can. Then that way you become experienced with women. That way when you get up in age and you get married, you'll be able to you got experience and you'll be able to handle the situation better. Tell my daughter, hey, you are precious. You're valuable. Hey, you need to keep them numbers to the minimum. So when you get older, when the time for you want to get married, that man's gonna value you. Like, oh, this is a woman that a lot of men ain't touched. You know what I'm saying? So that's just what it is, and that's my opinion.
You remember the movie Boys in the Hood, right? And you remember when Trey moved with his pops, and
Yeah,
Brandy was looking at him across the street. His mama grabbed Brandy. Her mama grabbed Brandy. Was like, "Get your
yeah.
butt
She
in the
said,
house and stop
yeah,
looking
she
at
said,
them boys being fast."
yeah. She said, get
You
your, yeah,
know,
yeah.
I do believe that is the standard, so to speak, from when we was growing up. Now I'm not sure, it's a little bit different for probably another generation, but for us,
Yeah, let's stick
our
5 generations
parents
right
was
now.
right. They definitely told the little girls to keep your legs closed. They were very, all the little girls went to church with an actual dress on, and was taught to sit down correctly so they wouldn't be showing things that they weren't supposed to. So as a kid growing up, I definitely saw, mothers and parents and fathers on their daughters' head making sure not to be fast.
My bad, I was in a different screen. Okay, so I agree with y'all that generally or collectively speaking, young girls are taught the opposite. But y'all bring up some very interesting dynamics here, right? And I'm about to take it there. So I really want to know what y'all think about where I'm going with it. So Chris, he
Hey,
brought up the fact.
Holly, before you go in there, I want to do one thing. Another reason that women that we want to push for purity for women, and they've done research on this. They've show
Okay,
research that the more sexual partners the woman has, the less it's harder for her to bond. The more sexual partners, the higher level of divorce. The more sexual partners, the higher level need to be on antidepressants and this and that for it. See, the thing is this: women and men don't deal with sex the same. Women, most
wait a minute,
women
hold on,
particularly cannot deal with sex like men can.
hold on, Chris. Them statistics that you just spit out. Where is the source on that? You said
Bro,
that this
hey,
is
hey,
tied to a woman.
you can look it up, bro. You can look it up.
Well,
The women
I just want to
they've
make
done
sure I'm clear
research
on
on
what
it.
you're saying. Let me make sure I'm clear on what you're saying. You're
Yeah.
saying that there's research that shows that for
Hmm.
women, not it's not the same for man, but you're saying that there's
Yeah.
research that shows for women
Hmm.
that the higher number, the number of sexual partners they have is tied to all of those other things that you just listed.
Yeah, yes. They've done research on that. The higher her sexual partner is, the harder it is for her to bind and commit to a man. The higher the sexual partners, the higher level of maybe not getting married. The higher sexual partners, the higher divorce. This is statistical things. This ain't shit I'm just making up. And as we know, most women cannot deal with sex like men can. Like, if a woman say, "Hey, Chris, I just want to have sex with you. That's it. I won't call you again." I'm like, "Hey, baby, line them up. Line all you up." Most women can't deal with it like that. They can't receive it. They can't receive sex the same way men can. That's like we can go in here and talk that bullshit, but that's just facts. But the things I'm saying, them are statistical facts about it. Like, and like I said, even the higher sexual partners, the higher level of like I said, need to be on antidepressants and other like depression and all that shit. But think about it. Let's keep it real. I'm a man, right? I don't have enough sexual partners, right? That doesn't affect me as I'm getting older. Now I might be willing to settle down. I done had all these women. That don't make me feel bad that I'm 40 some years old and I'm not married, but I don't fuck all these women. Now, a lot of women won't admit it, but if she's 40 some years old, 30 some years old, and she done fucked all these men and men ain't committed to her, but we don't look at that the same. She's going to be upset about that. I'm not necessarily upset about it. Most men's not. So, like I said, men and women are different. Our dating strategy is different. All that stuff is different. But you go ahead and say what you're gonna say.
I didn't hear what you said. The last part cut off. Sound like you was
No,
giving
I
me the
was saying,
mic back.
no, I was saying, yeah, I was just giving you the mic back. But like I said, like most men in their 40s, late 30s, men say they didn't had a lot of sexual partners and they ain't necessarily like settled down. That ain't a bad thing. That's good. That's good to us. That don't really necessarily affect us like it's a woman 35, 40 years old and ain't been married, just been fucking all these dudes and no dudes been committed to them but want to marry them. We don't view that the same. I'm happy about it. Hey, if I have sex with a woman and she fired herself, that's good. I'm kind of happy. That means I didn't have to fire. She fired her damn self. But a woman have sex with a dude and he don't want to fuck with her no more. A lot of women can't deal with that, and they don't take it the same way as me. I'm like, oh shit, she gave me the pussy, and I ain't have to put no investment. Good, good. On to the next one. Another woman, I done gave it up to him, and he ain't fucking with me. They get upset about it, and we gonna be honest. Let's be honest. So that's what that goes back to. That's why purity for a woman is very important. You know what I'm saying? So you got the floor again, Holly.
I mean, I'm hearing what you're saying, bro. But let's keep it real, bro.
Let's keep it
Let a man
real.
deal with a woman. Let a
Okay.
man deal with a woman, and she tells him, "Now I'm gonna wait until I find my husband." And she got two kids already. So you mean tell me that do you see what I'm saying? It's a double standard there in a
Now
sense.
it's not a double standard. It's a difference. And if a woman told me something like that, I would tell her, "Hey, I respect your opinion, and that's your body, but I'm cool. I'm cool. I'm not gonna be waiting no months to be fucking no 30, 40-year-old woman with multiple kids. That's some sucker shit. That's some you said I
Okay.
sound kinda like some sucker shit. I'm not doing it.
So
Okay.
And most
so you
men is
think he's
not.
simping?
I mean, hey, check this out. Like I said, it's her body. So just think about it. Say this out loud. This woman, like I'm 40. I'll be honest. I don't like women under 30. Like you got to at least be 30. I don't like them too young. So let me get this straight.
Okay.
I'm talking to a 35, 37-year-old woman who's got multiple children, who's gonna tell me I'm not gonna have sex till marriage for months. Hell no. You look at me. That's a sucker move. Your body, you do what you want. I'm not gonna participate with it. I'm gonna tell you something else. A man that gets women or has pretty good, experience with women, he's not gonna wait neither. The fuck? Hell no.
I hear you, bro,
You
but
got
it's
multiple
kind of
kids. Hell
I
no.
gotta be honest with you, man, and I don't want to sound facetious or anything, but it's kind of hypocritical. On one hand, we want a woman that's virtuous, but on the other hand, we upset if she says that I want to change the way that I used to be. I want to be better. I want to wait. But then we say, nah, since you don't want to wait, I ain't dealing with you.
It is the thing is this. It's not double standards. It's not hypocritical. The thing is this.
Oh,
Men
I
and
mean,
women are
wait,
different.
wait, 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 wait. Okay. You keep going back to the man and women are different. That's where I want to kind of take the floor because I have a very interesting dynamic that I just want to that I really just want to reiterate here, right? I really want to just bring it to the forefront. Okay, so we saying that it's different because of the way that we are initially introduced to, it, right? Boys are taught to kind of be fast, girls are taught the opposite. Here's the dynamic that's interesting, and one of the sisters who was actually in the comments during our live broadcast last week, she brought up this dynamic, which is a very interesting one, and I'd like to get both of y'all's opinion on this. I do agree with you, Mr. Wig. It's very hypocritical, but everything centered around the way that we introduced to it is very hypocritical in nature from the jump, right? To tell one gender one thing and the other gender another thing is sort of hypocritical, right? But here's the dynamic that's interesting. If from where Chris is standing, young boys are encouraged to have as many sexual partners as they need to or they can get, and it's not frowned upon, right? You're encouraged, you're kind of pressured to live life that way. However, he's also saying that a woman's virtue is precious and that she shouldn't be participating and being fast in that manner. So here's my question, and I'm actually just kind of repeating what one of the sisters asked if young boys are being encouraged to go and get sex and young girls are being encouraged to hold on to their sex, who are the young boys supposed to be fucking? as they gain this experience with women? Who are they supposed to earn their stripes with if the women are supposed to be virtuous? And before you answer the question, just to piggyback off of what Mr. Wiggs said, that's what makes it hypocritical because if now here you talking about beyond the age of adolescence and now we grown and we in our 30s or 40s and now you meet virtuous women or a woman who says, hey, I'm not gonna jump right in bed with you, you don't want to have anything to do with that even still at this big age. That is hypocritical in my opinion, right? And so I want to go back to the dynamic, just stick to the question that I asked. If you're teaching our young boys to encourage them
Okay.
to have sex, but like, where are they supposed to get this sex? What women are they supposed to get this sex from? If the young girls are taught something opposite,
But here it's kind of like this though, Holly. Right? And this is why it's not hypocritical. It's embedded in their DNA. I remember I was messing with this chick, and I think it was like a game where we had sex, and we was talking, and she was like, "If me and you don't work, I can't have sex with nobody again." I think she said to like June or July. You've heard women say that, like she like, because they don't want to stack them bodies up, right? And
right?
you've
Okay,
heard women say that.
but you got
You've
okay. You
heard women
doing?
say
Wait,
it.
wait. Hold on, Chris. You ignoring my question, but I'm gonna stay where you at. I'm gonna stay where you at because
No,
I
no,
want to
I'm
answer
going.
it.
I'm going
No,
to
no,
your
no, no, no,
question.
no,
I'm
no,
going
no,
to
no,
your
no, no, no,
question, but
no.
I
I
want to
want to
explain
give
why it's
you.
not hypocritical.
I understand it. I already understand it. I already understand where you're going, but I want to point out one more thing. And now I'm gonna get personal. I'm getting personal, right? Okay. I fall under the same category that you talk about, being a man who has had a lot of sexual partners in life, right? I'm older, and I get what you're saying is not something that bothers a man. However, for me personally, and I didn't have kids in the process, so I've fucked more women than most, but I didn't have no kids in the process, so I don't have no legacy, right? As I do think back on it later in life, at this point in time, I do regret it. I am mad about the fact that I gave myself to so many souls here and there, and I got nothing to show for it. So I am. So there are men who, at least from my where I stand, and I think that me not having kids has a lot to do with it. But men do mature to the point where they start to see some of the hypocriticism that we grow up around, right? It's like, as men, our bodies should be just as virtuous as well. We just not taught that. At least in our generation, we weren't taught that.
Hey, like I said, I mean everybody is entitled to their opinion, but it's kind of like I wouldn't say that you didn't learn from it. The thing is this, like you're what you're doing, you're gaining experience, right? Because we know dealing with a woman and then you getting her to submit and being in a relationship and making her happy, that's a tough thing, right? So what you are doing is you're gaining experience, and what is also is called you having a certain value to yourself. Because we can be, like I said, we being honest, women, and they done research on this, are attracted to other men that other women won't.
Feed
So if
feed
all
me
these,
through
so
some
you can
research,
look
bro.
this, you
Like,
can look this stuff like prime example. Hey, we keep it real. If she finds out, hey, like you go to college, use a new. Hey, look at Holly, yeah, look at it, woo woo woo. One woman's up there showing you props. Man, a lot of them, all them other women don't like it. So if you got your shit together, right, that the universal women will say, oh yeah, he got his shit together, and you want to be messing with a lot of women. And what that is you become experienced. That's what it is. So I wouldn't say that you didn't learn nothing. You came experience, and
but
you even said it yourself.
you're not hearing what I'm saying, though. You're not hearing what
I'm
I'm
saying what
saying.
you said. You even
Going
said
back
it
to the
yourself
women.
about
I'm
your
going
wife.
back
You
to the
said about
women.
your wife.
I'm going
You said
back
with
to the
your wife. You
women,
said,
bro. Where are we
okay.
supposed to get? Where is we supposed to? Who is we supposed to be fucking if the girls is taught to keep their legs closed? Who we supposed to be fucking and getting all this experience from? If what we really prefer when we ready to settle down is a virtuous woman who hasn't done those things. Where
But
are we
here's the
supposed
thing.
to be getting them from?
We're not saying that you gonna marry a virgin, which that'd be nice. But if you're gonna marry a woman, like you even said it yourself, you're talking about your wife. You said you asked her questions. You like, if you did this, you did this, you did this. I can't fool with you. But you probably did some things. You like if you I think you said something about three. You probably
Absolutely.
I don't know.
But
You'll say
what
some
I was
things.
doing, what I was doing though, was being accountable in the fact that it is hypocritical. Because after all of
But
that, I summed it up. I said it's never gonna change with me. Because I grew up exposed to that. The way that I feel like I can change it is that I don't teach the next generation of young boys that same level of hypocritical thinking. And I think that's what
but
Mr. Williams was alluding to in terms of the way that he raises his boys.
all
And
right.
he teaches them
So if
something different now. That's the way that the maturity has come out of it.
all
But
right.
but but it sounds like
Okay.
you don't think it's hypocritical though.
Now I'm gonna tell you something. All right, if we gonna say it's hypocritical, then all right, let's go ahead and go down this rabbit hole. Then. So the next time a woman wants to go to a movie with me, to a scary movie, and I'm holding on to her and looking at her and like all up on her shoulder and shit, you think she gonna like that shit? Well, I forgot who I was talking to, but I think it was you, but it might not have been you. And I think
Bro, we
you
talking
said,
about
hey, we
sex,
on the
bro.
game.
Like we talking about
No,
sex
no,
though, bro.
no,
Like
no,
we're not
no,
talking
no,
about
no,
like
no,
we
no,
talking about
no,
the
no,
movie.
no.
You losing me with
No,
the
it makes
movie
perfect
analogy.
sense. No, it makes perfect sense. So if you're gonna say that's hypocritical about the sex thing, okay, fair enough. But you got to do that with everything else, then, with all the gender roles and what's expected of each sex. You can't say, oh, this is hypocritical, but when a man do this or man do that, that's not. No, you can't do that. So if you're gonna say one thing's hypocritical,
So
right? You got to carry the
so
same
so
ball
so
on
to
everything
say
else. So that's
being
what I'm
fast, meaning having engaging in sexual activity at a young age. If we say that shouldn't be encouraged for either boys or girls, then we should also say certain things like dating, going to the
saying.
movies,
Yeah,
holding
yes,
hands in
yes,
the
yeah.
park,
Hey,
all
yeah,
of that should be discouraged.
I'm saying if we're going, I'm saying if we're gonna say this, the date, if we're gonna say the sexual dynamic is hypocritical, cool. Then we also gotta judge everything else when it comes to men and women dynamics the same.
You said
So if
all
I'm
of
in the
the
bed,
non-sexual things. I'm trying to make sure I
so here's the
follow
thing. So here's the thing. Yes, yes. So if I'm in a bed with a woman and somebody kicking the door, I don't have to go I don't have to go see who it is. She gotta go do it. Since we ain't gonna do this hypocritical shit, right? And it's not no standards,
Bro,
and we
wait a
gonna
minute,
have
wait a
like
minute,
different things, right? Yeah, it makes
wait a
perfect
minute.
sense, man.
You
You
losing
can't
me.
do
You
that,
losing
dog.
me.
You can't do that. You can't take one thing and judge it this way. And be like we ain't gonna judge that the same way. You saying it's hypocritical for men to have a lot of sex partners and women not? Then we need to put that on everything else. So it's hypocritical if a man is
No,
doing certain
I
things and a
don't agree
woman's
with
not.
that. I don't
Well,
agree with that. I
okay,
don't know if
fair
anybody
enough.
else
Okay.
here
Hey,
agrees with
I
that,
mean,
but
but
like we
here's the
talking
thing.
about sexuality, bro. Like we
But here's
talking
the
about
thing.
hypersexuality, and
But here's the thing.
so wait a minute. What you saying is, you talking about gender roles now. Now you kind of
I'm just talking about.
crossing the
I'm
two
just,
subjects, bro.
no, no,
Like you
no, no.
talking
What
about
I'm
gender
saying is,
roles,
I'm
not
talking as
gender
a.
biases, but gender roles. Not
This what I
biases,
mean.
but roles, bro. Like
But
I'm
this
talking
what I
about
mean.
gender
This what I mean.
biases. Listen to what I'm saying.
This what I
Listen to what
mean.
I'm
This
saying
what I
so you make
mean.
sure you follow me, bro. Make
No,
sure you
let
follow
me
me.
explain. Let me explain.
I'm not talking
You
about
said,
gender roles. I'm talking about gender biases. You're talking about gender
yeah, yeah.
roles.
I'm talking about everything. So if we gonna be all the way equal, if you want to be equal, men should be having a lot of sex, women should have sex.
Yeah, but
Then let's be equal about everything, right? So you
no
expectations of
bias.
your
Like
wife,
that's
your
a
husband,
bias
yeah.
conversation, bro. That's
Come
not
on,
a
man, that
gender.
ain't
That's not
that.
a role conversation. Like when you talk about roles, you talked about a man being the protector, being the one that gets up in the middle of the night if we hear a sound in the night. That's a gender role. That's not a bias. That's not a bias, bro. That's a
Well
role.
then, okay, well that's not
So
hypocritical.
you
The woman
saying we
got to
should
get up there too.
criticize
Then
roles because we criticize a bias?
no, I'm saying if we're gonna say one thing, like I said, if we're gonna say one thing about that, what men expect from a woman and what a woman expects from a man, we're gonna say that's hypocritical in this sector. We got to kind of use the same judgment on something else, right? We got to use it on other things too, right? We just can't say, well, we just gonna call this.
Chris, because like
Yes,
you,
yes.
you dancing around it because you still haven't answered the question that I'm saying. What I'm saying is, bro, don't even take man out of it. Take man out of it. We putting women. We just talking about women, bro.
Yo,
If you saying what man expect, right? What man expect from a woman.
and
But what you
yeah,
expecting from her, you expecting two things from her. You expecting her to be virtuous when you ready to settle down with her, but you also expecting her to not be virtuous when you ain't ready to settle. You expecting both things out of women. That's what makes it hypocritical. How can you
no,
expect both?
that's
Like you even said it. You said, bro, most men, and I said it too. You agree with my bias, and I just admitted that it was a bias, and I'm just trying to understand how you don't admit it that it's a bias. It's a bias, bro. For me to look my wife or my future wife at the time in the eye, For me to tell her, listen, if you had this, and this on your history as far as man is concerned, then I'm Xing you out. While at the same time, I don't want you to X me out because I've had all of those things when it came to women. That's a bias. That's a bias, bro. Right? And so I'm admitting that it's a bias, but you're saying that it's not because men expect that. So what I'm saying, take man out of it, bro. Go just focus on the women. Which one are you actually asking of them or expecting of them as a man? Are you expecting them to be fast? Or are you expecting them not to be fast? Because you denying them either way. It sounds like to
No,
me.
well, no, I'm not undermining. The thing is, like I said once again, men and women are different physically, mentally, emotionally. We're different. We have different standards. If you ask a man, what do you look for in a woman or a wife, and they write it down. You ask a woman, what do you look for in a man, and they write it down. They're going to be different. Our dating strategies are different,
They not
right?
all gonna be different. Everything on that list ain't gonna be different. Some of those
That's
things on
not
that list ain't gonna match, Chris.
true,
Don't
true.
don't
But
let's be
however,
honest. Let's be honest. So
true.
so yes, we are we're all as
But
people,
however,
as
but
wait a minute,
however,
hold
they're
on, man
different.
to man. Wait a minute, man to man are different. All men ain't the same. I got some preferences that you might not have. Right? So if we gonna be honest and really unpack it, let's just talk about that, bro. Even man to man, even though we generally, as a general consensus, we agree on certain things, individual to individual, we all still different, bro. So that's almost a moot point to say man and women are different.
It, no,
Men
it
and
ain't. It
men
ain't.
are
It
different.
ain't. It ain't a
So
mute
man and
point. It
man
ain't.
ain't different.
Watch
Man
this.
and man ain't
What,
different.
what I'm saying? No, what I'm saying is this: have you ever dated a woman or knew somebody that dated a woman and she acted like a man, or you knew somebody that was a dude and a woman say, "Man, he acts like a female."
Are
That's
you
usually not
talking about
attractive to them.
roles? You talking about roles
No, no,
versus
no.
bias?
I'm
Do you
talking.
understand what I'm
No,
saying?
no,
I'm
no.
saying
I'm not. I'm
roles and
talking about
biases are not the
differences.
same thing.
Okay. Hey, I'm talking about differences. We're different. Men and women are different. That's what it is. Men and women are different. Usually what a man finds attractive, women don't, or vice versa.
Okay,
Right? That's just what it is, man.
and I'm not disagreeing with you wholeheartedly. I do understand that we are different, but I want you to
Yes.
understand that it ain't because we man and women. I'm saying men to man are different too. Like women to women are different. Like all men ain't the same, all women ain't the same. Some men prefer a woman that is outspoken. Some men prefer a woman that'll shut the fuck up when he speaks. Right? And we all prefer different levels of different things. Right? That's the first point that I'm making. But what I'm saying is the gender role versus the gender bias is completely different. And when we look at sex, that's a bias, not a role. Because when you talk about roles are designed for who does what around the house, who does what in the relationship, who's the person in charge of this, who's the person in charge of that. Those are roles. But biases are things like as a okay. So I'm gonna give you a different example, Chris, and you tell me how you feel about this, right? Um, for a we talking about little boys and little girls, right? Let's just talk about little boys and little girls. We're not talking about sex. It's something that ain't sexual, but if you answer this question in one way versus the other, it's gonna be a biased answer, bro. Listen to what I'm asking you, bro. When you teaching little boys and little girls about about hygiene, right? Are you teaching little boys that they gotta fucking take baths or showers every day the same way that you teaching little girls? Are you teaching them the
Um,
same?
that's not the yes, I do.
You do, okay. So if you didn't, if you said, man, for little boys, it's okay if you musty every once in a while because you a boy, you a man. You supposed to be hard. If you taught your boy that it's okay to walk around funky at times, while you teaching your little girl that it's never okay for a woman to do that, then that's a bias. That's not a
That no,
role.
that's not even
And
the
what I'm
same,
saying
Holly.
is, it
That's
ain't
not
the
even the
same. But
same.
you saying that boys and girls are different, but there are certain things where we teach them bias wise, like where we teach them with biases. Is the point that I'm making, bro? I know that we different, but some things we are taught the same. We all taught the same thing about hygiene, bro. We talk about how important hygiene is, even with men and women being different. But it's certain behaviors that women are taught not to do. It's certain behaviors that men are encouraged to do. That's a bias. That's a biased teaching. You saying that it ain't biased because we different, but we different all around.
Yes, exactly. That's and yeah, we are different, right? So, like I said, our what like I was saying, what men find attractive and women find attractive a lot of times the same. 'Cause here's a great since we talking about sexuality, here's a great thing. There, I have never met, and I've had this discussion. I have never met a woman who said, would you date a man who said, hey, look, I've had male sexual partners?" Most women be like, fuck no, I'm not dating him. But find me a man who wouldn't date a woman who's had female sexual partners. Hell, a lot of us encourage it. So fuck this bias shit.
But,
So we should just say, hey, if
That's a
a woman should
bias
fuck with a
though.
man, then fuck with a
That's
man.
a
Right? No,
bias
it's
though.
not. It's the same thing. No, it's not. It's the same
No,
thing
that's a
Hollywood
bias, my
talking
bias.
brother.
about. It's the same thing Hollywood talking about. Hey, but like I
Let
said,
me
find
hold
a
on,
woman,
Chris.
find me a woman, find me a woman, find me a woman who will fuck with a man that mess with other men. And then find me a man
Okay,
who
Chris.
wouldn't mess with a woman who mess with other women.
Okay,
Go
okay,
ahead and find
okay,
me that.
Chris. I can't find you the woman, but I can find you the man, nigga, because you sticking to the man. I told you what I asked my wife, nigga. I told you what I asked my wife. I said, listen, have you ever had A, B, C? Nigga, I said, I'm not gonna say it again on the unpacking. You can tune into the episode to see it, nigga. I talked about all of the shit that I had in my history, nigga. Threesomes, orgies, nigga, pimping, strippers. I had all of that shit going on. If you had any of those things, we not carrying this shit forward. That ain't what I want to settle down with. And I know it's biased. I'm saying, like, this is what I'm saying, bro. I'm agreeing with you that we got that bias. But you saying that it ain't no bias. Like, nigga,
It
I
ain't no
ain't
bias
doing. Wait,
because we
hold on,
got
hold on,
different
hold on,
strategies. That's what
hold
I'm
on, hold on,
saying.
hold on. To go back to what you said, nigga, because you was real passionate, nigga. Find you a man. I done found you the man, nigga. But I guarantee I could probably find a woman. I just don't know one off the top of my flip that a black woman that would be okay with that. But I'm telling you right now, nigga, as a man, my wife, I wouldn't have had the woman that I'm with, bro. If she would have had some sort of sexual interactions, engagements, experiments with another woman, I wouldn't have accepted that. I didn't want that. So it does exist for man, bro.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
here's the thing.
definitely a
Here's the thing. Here's the
bias.
thing. Here's the thing. I'm a backtrack a little bit. I don't speak in absolute 100%. But if you ask 100 women, I guarantee 90 of them is not gonna fool with a man that was fucking another man. 90, maybe 95%
I
of them is
agree. I
not.
agree with
Now,
that.
I bet you ask 100 men, if you ask 100 men, would you fuck with a woman that you said fuck with women? I bet you 95 to 98% of them would, and they'll even encourage it. So that's all bias, right? It ain't. It's different. It's
That's
It's a
different.
bias.
So, like I'm
bias.
saying, men and women, I understand that. So a lot of these men nowadays be like, well, women do it. I don't subscribe to that doctrine because I'm a man. We're different. Women is different. What I
Wait a minute,
expect
wait a
from a
minute,
woman is different.
Chris.
What she expects
The
from me is
analogy,
different.
Chris,
Come on, man.
the analogy that you bringing up when I say that that is a bias, that's not a bias on man's behalf. Even though I'm the man that
I
wouldn't
was
want
about on
that,
women behalf.
it's a bias for women, right? Like that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's the true definition of a bias. As a woman,
Okay. Okay.
she might have fucked with other women in her history, right? But if she
How you
finds
doing?
out this man that she fucking with done fucked with another man, she not gonna want to fuck with him. She would hold that against him, whereas he's not gonna care that she fucked with another woman. That's a biased
Whoop, there it
sort of
is.
principle and thinking. So it's not biased on the man's
Okay. Well,
behalf in your example, right? It's still a bias though. Like we
let's
gotta
say it
be
is
clear about
biased.
what the bias. It's a bias,
Hey,
bro.
you ready for the knockout punch, Holly? You ready for the knockout punch?
Now hold
Well,
on.
say, okay,
I
it's
think Big
biased.
Wig.
Okay,
Hold on.
watch
Let
this,
Wig
watch this
say. I
knockout
think
punch.
Wig is
Watch this
speaking.
knockout punch. I'm
I
about to do
think
a
Wig
knockout
is
punch. Since
speaking,
it's
bro.
biased, since it's biased,
Hold on.
let's just,
Let
hey,
Wig
try to take
get
it
off
away.
what he was saying, bro. Let Wig say what he was saying, and then you can give us the knockout
All right, go
punch. What
ahead.
was you saying, Wig?
I mean, no, what I was, because I'm listening, to the back and forth, and it is a bias, I mean, where even it's a bias if a woman says no to mess with a man that didn't mess with another man, and a man saying yes to a woman that didn't mess with a woman. It's still a bias. Like even with with your preference, from the beginning, Holly Rod, how you told your wife these are the criteria that I was looking for. Do you meet that standard? And that is truly a bias. You know what I mean? But I guess the whole point of how this whole, I guess you could say disagreement of bias versus, it all stems to the point of how we as men view women in the older age. In the younger age, we kind of, chasing it, or based off of how we was growing up of trying to get to it. But as a man that's older, that's looking for to settle down, if he meets a man, if he meets his woman, and she says, "No, I want to wait," that's not really a bias, or excuse me, and it's not really a role. It's just a standard of where that person is in that moment. And I think that I was saying the reason why I'm saying it's hypocritical, because he said that, no, I'm not going to deal with you because you said no, but then we want a woman to say no.
Exactly. That's where I was going with. Okay, so me and you kind of on the same page from what Chris said. He said if he meet a woman that's in her 30s or 40s and she got kids, but when he meets her, she's trying to be more virtuous. He's saying that he's not going to deal with her, and that's what I call that's hypocritical. That's bias.
Facts.
Chris,
It
you
is a
muted.
bias. It is a
Chris, you
bias.
muted if you were saying something. Yeah, no, that's a bias, bro. But you absolutely right though, Wig. You right, but what I'm saying is at the same time you wrong. Because like we chasing it right at a young age, right? Right, we kind of feel like that, right? But at the same time, bro, a lot of us, and I'm not speaking for all men or all young boys, but a lot of us, we don't reject falling for somebody. We just not gonna fall for a certain type of girl. So even though we might not be ready to settle down, I think what it is we develop this culture of we're gonna treat girls that put it out one way, and we're gonna treat girls that hold on to it. We're gonna look at them and put them on a different pedestal. That's what bias. That's what's bias, bro. Because at the end of the day, we want both of them. That's what I mean when I say it's hypocritical. We want both of them. As men, we want a woman that ain't had a lot of sexual partners, and we want a woman that's gonna bust it open. Now if we're gonna be real about it, let's be real about it. As men,
Yeah.
we want both of them. So that's why it's fucking hypocritical.
Yep.
All right, well, here's the thing. This is what we'll do then. And I want you to make the Facebook post. I want you to go on there and say, men, you should no longer mess with women who's had sexual encounters with other women. And then I want you to say, women, you will have to accept men who used to fuck and get busted up their back, word for pimp C, by other men. And I want you to see what the overall consensus is gonna be. You go and tell them that's
No,
biased, that's hypocritical. You can't do that. Go ahead and
yeah,
do it.
yeah,
I dare you. I dare you.
we
I
already
dare you.
addressed we already addressed that
So,
if women
but the
we
thing is
already
this: it's
addressed that
not.
that is a bias. That is a
It's
bias,
not a
bro.
bias. It's called being different.
It's a
It's different.
societal bias, bro. For it to be
Oh,
acceptable
okay.
for women, it's really widely accepted. It's widely accepted for women to engage
Hmm.
in sexual behavior with other
So
women,
I
and
got.
it's widely unacceptable for that to be the case with men. That is a
So then
bias
maybe it's not a
fucking
bias, but maybe
behavior.
it's just what women want. What this was graded in women and wasn't graded in men. Maybe it's not a bias.
It is a
Maybe
bias
right.
because double standard. It's a
All
bias
right,
standard. That
it's
is
not,
a
it's not
double.
a, it's not a bias. It might not be a bias if the overall consensus of women do not want to agree with that, but the overall consensus of men do. Maybe they just how men are. Like, for example, they did a poll. They asked, "Would you date an unemployed person?" I see almost 70% of men say they would date an unemployed woman. I want to say like 28% of women say they would date an unemployed man. So is it a bias then, or they just how we're wired and that's just what men and women prefer?
It's
That's
a bias, my
how
brother.
wired it is.
That's a
So it
bias.
ain't,
Okay,
it
so if
ain't,
you're
that's what
gonna
I'm
answer the
saying. It's not a
question, if you're gonna
bias.
ask us the question, you gotta allow us to answer it, brother Chris.
Yeah,
Calm
I'm
down.
just
You
saying.
worked
That's
it
what I'm
out.
saying. It's not a bias.
Calm down. Don't pass out
No, I'm
on me.
saying it's not a bias. Yeah. Go ahead. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so you ask, is that a bias? That is a bias. It's a bias when we talk about that with women, men and women. It's a bias for women to say it's a bias when you won't accept what the status that you in yourself. If you are unemployed woman and you say, ain't no way, shape, and form am I gonna fuck with a unemployed man, then you being biased. You being hypocritical because you unemployed your goddamn self, right? So that's what makes it a bias. It's a bias whether or not that's the way that society, the standard that society goes by. We as a society, we as a community have a lot of standards that and principles that we live off of that are very biased, bro. We have to admit that.
Okay, if I agree with you, how do we fix it? What do we do to fix it? And
Okay,
how do we get women to accept men that were sucking dick? How do
wait
we
a
fix
minute,
that?
bro. Wait. I'm not trying to fix that. I'm not on a
No, no,
crusade
we don't.
to get men
We
to
don't
get
want to be
women. Wait a minute,
biased.
hold on, bro. Hold on. We're having a real conversation. I'm not
Yeah, I'm
on a
messing with you, bro.
crusade to get women to accept men that done have sex with other men. That's not the crusade I'm on. What I'm on the crusade, bro, like how do we fix the bias? Having double standards. Those are better
Yeah.
questions. And
Okay, how do we do it?
the first step, bro, the first step is admitting what are biases and what are not. And you're saying it ain't none of these things biases.
I don't think they're biased. I think what they are is I think I'm a Christian and I think God made men and women different. He instilled certain things in me they're called innate desires, and instilled things in them women too innate desires. That's why when a woman start getting older and she ain't have no children, what does she want to do? Her maternal instincts kick in. Do you know the
Bro,
highest level of
like
unhappy?
again, now you're going bias again.
As a man, I have an innate desire as a man. Women has innate desires as women, right? That's what testosterone and estrogen is, man. That's why
Yeah,
women
but
cannot
you
build
tying
muscle
it
like
to
men
but you
because they
tying
can't
it,
build.
you tying it to children instead of keeping it to the
No,
sex. Let's just think
I'm just
about the
saying.
sex, bro. We ain't talking about we because you saying that women get older and if they haven't had no kids, they start to desire that more as if that doesn't
Men
happen
too,
for
men
men.
too, men too,
Okay,
men too.
so
Yeah.
that ain't no difference. You saying that
But
God
when
made
I'm
us
no, when I'm
different.
saying it, no,
Okay,
no,
then
I'm saying
what
it's an
is
innate
different in that
desire.
then?
We have innate desires. We have
We have
innate
the same.
desires.
We have the same as men and women. Men get horny. Women get horny. When we younger, bro, and
And
we
we
and
don't
we
get horny
bagging
the
all of it.
same.
Hold
We
on,
don't get
bro.
horny
Hold
the
on.
same either.
Yes, the fuck we do, bro. It's just all of us don't get horny the same way. It ain't about men and women, bro. Some women like to bust it open. Some women don't. All of them get horny. Some of them get horny differently. It ain't about men and women. Same thing with men. It's a lot of brothers, bro. It's a lot of brothers, bro. That ain't chasing pussy. They whole half they fucking life. It's a lot of men that's like that. Most men that I knew was like we were, bro. We was chasing behind pussy, bro. So I'm saying, men and women, yes, we both get horny, bro. Some men get hornier than others. Some women get hornier than others. But the concept of us getting horny, nigga, that happens a period. Nigga, because that's again, because I'm going back to my original question, which made it hypocritical and a bias, bro. Where is we supposed to get the pussy from if these women ain't, if we don't expect these women to give no pussy up? Where are we supposed to get the pussy from then? If they not getting as horny as we are, nigga, we all knew some fucking
No,
freaks that
watch
was
this, watch
that
this.
had sex drive. We've all known women that had sex
Hey,
drive that were probably even larger than ours at a particular time in life, bro.
how you what gets you horny or how you get horny is usually different how a woman gets horny, right?
Bro, but
If
how
you
man,
see, hey, right,
all
when
men
you
is
like,
not attracted to the same things. The same things don't make every single man horny, bro.
we're talking about heterosexual men. Let's talk about heterosexual men. We get
Heterosexual man,
horny.
bro. Me and you
Yeah,
got
we talk about
different
horny
turn ons and
heterosexual men.
feats. Me and you got different
But here's the
turn ons and
thing.
feats.
But here's
We
the
both
thing.
heterosexual.
How you get horny? A woman don't get horny like that. She doesn't get horny the same way you get horny. If I see a
That's
woman,
not
she in her,
true,
let's say she
bro.
in a ladies' boy
It's
shorts and
certain
everything.
things that's just not true, bro. It's certain things, bro, that we have
Okay.
in common, bro. It's certain like whether we man or women, and it's certain things that we are
No,
made
I
differently,
agree. I
whether we
agree.
man
As
or
men and
women.
women, I agree. We're
And I'm
men and
saying,
women.
as
It's
men
kind of,
and
it's two
men.
circles. A
I
man,
think
the circles that like overlap. That, like remember the circle we used to do in math? They draw two circles. They kind of overlap. The overlap is like where men and women are the same at because man and one man. But then the other stuff outside of the rest of the circle where it doesn't overlap is the differences, brother Holly. We're different. We're
bro,
different,
but
bro.
that doesn't mean that we are all the same where we are different at.
Yeah, I
Like
don't.
that's
Yeah,
what
you're
I'm saying.
right.
I'm
I don't
saying where
speak.
we are
I don't
different
speak
at.
in hundred
Like you
percent
said,
tendency.
men and women are different. But what I'm saying is that it's men that ain't different like the next man might be, bro. Like man to man,
Hey,
we ain't
pull
we
up one of
all
the women.
different,
Pull up
bro.
one of the women. Pull up one of the women in here and ask what they fucked with a man that was fucking me. Let's just see. That's
Man, bro, why do you keep
tell one
going
of them to
back
come
to
on here and
that,
say that.
bro? Like why?
No, because that's an
I'm really
important
concerned.
thing. That's an
You
important
Let
concerning me.
thing.
All right,
You
let me
That's an
let
concerning
me
me
let me
important
about that.
thing.
let me try
You
something
keep
here.
going back.
Let me explain something here. Hold on, real quick.
Go ahead, Will.
I'm following what you're saying, Chris. I am. Like in the in the retrospect, if you were to do a poll on that, I do agree with that. You know what I mean? As far as 98% of the women be like, "Nah, I ain't fucking with a nigga that messed with another man," and I get that, and I get the part where 98% of men will fuck with a woman that dealt with a woman. I get that part, but the difference is that when it comes to whether it's the bias part of it, that's not really that's unisex when it comes to the bias. Charleston White kind of put the nail on the head. He said some niggas, you know, uh, uh, will call a woman bitch, 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 bitch. Another man says, hey, don't say that. There's ladies in the room. You know what I mean? There's one nigga that will slap the shit out of his woman. There's another nigga that won't dare touch a woman. So that part right there, yeah, we're all men, but we are different, and that's where Holly Rod is making that point too.
Yes, that's the point that I'm making, and I'm saying that for us to fix it, for us to really get past having these sorts of biases, the first thing that we got to do is we got to admit that they are biases, bro. Like, and I keep going back to my question. I don't know how we keep going back to the niggas being accepted, having other men on there. I don't know how we keep going back there because that ain't where I want to. I want to stay where we encouraging boys to have sex at a young age but we discouraging women to have sex. So who are the young boys supposed to have the sex from? And
Can
and
I ask
and,
that
and,
question?
and
I can answer
yeah,
that.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
great question because the thing is this is you know if we are telling the parents is telling the little girl saying no, 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 then you got the men saying the little boy telling the little boys yeah, 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 yeah. I think the difference is from things that are in things that come in that influence you outside of that norm or that ruling of you shouldn't do this, you should do this. Then you got some homes of women that they don't have that. Like let's just say a daughter sees her mom having men in and out of the home day in and day out. You know what I mean? In our, I guess you could say when we was hunting, those were the type of women we were looking for because it was what we call easy. No man ever actually tried to, if it's too hard and all you trying to do is get the sex, we moving to the next one. Nobody is gonna sit there and try to talk up on it if that makes sense. They
So
go,
yeah, yeah. So hold on, Chris. I know Chris about to try to dive in. Hold on, Chris. Give me 2 minutes. I probably won't even take that long. Just piggyback off of what you said. Um, what it sounds like is we really are teaching, or we were taught as young boys. We were taught that both type of women exist. We were taught that women are different. We were taught that hey, there are women that you gonna meet that are gonna have respect for themselves and their body. However they put it to us, they're gonna be virtuous. And then it's gonna be some young freaks you gonna meet, right? the woman that's gonna be virtuous, you want her, right? But you want her for different reasons,
Hmm.
and you're gonna treat her differently than you're gonna treat the young freak. But the thing is, we were taught that both type of women exist, and so we taught to go after both of them. That's what makes it a confusing teaching. It's like, bro, you telling me that I need to gain these experiences as a man. I need to find young freaks and get my respect in the locker room that way. But at the same time, if I meet a woman that's not like that, I'm really supposed to value her in a different way. And to me, that's what makes it hypocritical. That's what makes it. And again, I'm saying this with admitting, my nigga, that I was that type of man when I was ready to find my wife. I could just admit I knew it was a bias at that point, right? But I felt like there wasn't no change in my bias. But the way for me to change this is for me to teach the next generation something different. We ain't even gonna get into that as a bias. We gotta teach young boys to be respectful of their bodies the same way that we expect that of women ultimately, in my opinion. Otherwise it's hypocritical and it's a bias.
Agreed. I agree because we were taught to go for both, and because of that, you know what I mean. It's a confusing situation for the young man.
Exactly. That's the point that I'm making. It is confusing. Whether we want to admit it or not, we make a lot of mistakes, bro, like developing those habits because we learn the shit in a toxic manner.
I
Oh, it sound like sound like she
one
at
thing I
time.
respect, I respect y'all opinion, and I don't agree, but I do respect your opinion, and I value it. But I'm just under the doctrine, and I understand. Like I said, I feel men and women are different. We got different views. We got different things that we're attracted to. We got different things we expect from a husband or a wife, and that's just kind of what it is. That's my opinion, and I got research to back it, and I got real life applications to back it. You know what I'm
I
saying? Like
mean,
I said
in your
before, if
research,
you know what I'm
even
saying.
your
So,
research being correct still shows that it is a bias, though.
but here's the thing: you can't do this though. I can't be like, if I say I think they say 80% of divorces are initiated by the woman. And if I say 80% of divorces initiated the woman, so women are leaving the marriages, you can't come in there and say, well, that's not true. Our uncle divorced his wife. The overall consensus is this is what it is. So you can't just bring up the minority and try to give it the same value as the majority. Like you have 10 people who's the best
And
quarterback in the NFL, they're gonna say
Chris,
Patrick Mahomes, right? You can't
yeah,
say
but Chris,
if you have 10 people who are the best quarterback, they gonna say 8 of them gonna say Patrick Mahomes. You can't say, well, I'll say Josh Allen, he the best. No, the overall consensus. So that's what it
okay,
is.
Chris,
Yeah.
listen to what I'm saying, bro. Because what you do is, bro, you mixing and matching things, right?
I'm not no, I'm
There's
not.
certain,
I'm giving
listen to me,
parallels.
bro. Listen to me, bro. Listen to me, bro. Like the Patrick Mahomes analogy and asking people who they think is the best. That's opinion based. That ain't based upon actual research and numbers and statistics. So
Okay.
that's yes, that will be general consensus, but general consensus is more opinion based. Consensus is opinion based. When we talking about research, we talking about facts and medical backing. So some of the things that you mentioned, they may be a general consensus line of thinking, but from a medical standpoint, when you talk about research, you can't just go out and say I got research to back it up if you don't give us the source of said research.
Here's the thing. I don't have the source right on edge, but I imagine if you Google it, man, everything I see, you will see. You can see it up. You can go and see. Just like I was reading. I think it was something to do with like mental health, and they said almost 80% of people who are diagnosed with depression are introverts. You can look this up, Google this shit. I'm not gonna sit up here and lie about no shit. Just Google it. If you don't think I'm just Google that shit. So if I say if you're an extrovert and you want to sit in the house,
That don't have anything to do with what we talking about, bro. We talking about
no,
hypersexuality.
you're not understanding my parallel. I'm giving you parallels.
Yeah, but
I'm giving you parallels on my research.
just because
That's what I'm
something is
saying.
true, listen, just because something is true in one area of discussion doesn't mean that it's true or applicable in another, bro. Stick to the subject at hand. We talking
Bro,
about
I'm giving you
biases, bro.
parallels. It ain't
You
okay.
not,
Like I said, I respect.
I'm giving you direct. You giving me indirect parallels. I'm giving you direct parallels. I'm trying to stick to the discussion at hand,
Well, give me
which is
some
about
research on
trust.
how these are biases then. Give me
What
research
do
where
you
these
mean
are
bias?
biases and not. Listen to me.
You don't
Listen
need
to me.
research
Show me where
on
these
the
are.
definition of a bias. Do you understand what do you not understand what a bias is? A bias
Now
is
tell
when
me
you
what the.
tell somebody you don't know what a bias is. Is that where we at?
Now this what I'm saying. If the overall consensus is saying one thing, I don't necessarily say you can look at it as a bias. That could just be how men and women are wired. So if 97% of
No,
people
bro.
is not that could just be how they wired. It might not be a bias. Here's a bias. Here's a bias. Here's a bias.
Every one of us in the room, nigga, is wired this way. That doesn't mean we're not wired in a biased way. Like nigga,
Here,
like we have biases. Like as human beings can be wired a certain way, and a lot of those ways can be biased ways, bro. Biased or prejudiced or discriminatory towards another group or character or person. Like that's human nature shit, my nigga.
okay.
We
Okay,
all
let's
are
say it is
wired
biased.
with
Okay,
different biases,
if
bro.
it's biased, if it's biased, right? So you basically saying if the overall consensus about something is what this is, that's biased. So
It
so if you
can be biased,
so
yes, yes.
okay,
Like,
okay.
how do you not agree with that, bro? Like there's it's a biased way of thinking. Like, since you like to do parallels that ain't got nothing to do with the subject, I can play that
Now
game
I give
too.
you parallels of that back in what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Bro,
Go
like,
ahead,
but
go
you
ahead.
not like right now, bro. I think where we disagree at is where you consider a bias. Like maybe the term bias is where we keep running into this wall at, bro. Because we both got to be on the same page about what a biased way of thinking is, a biased point of view, a biased set of rules. That's what double standard means. It's a biased set of rules, and we got
I
to be
don't know
able
if I
to,
will.
bro. We
I
got
agree
to be
with
able
biases, but
the
I don't
genuine,
think them are.
listen, bro. Listen. Here's a parallel. Here's a parallel that we talked about on an earlier episode. We talked about the biased way of thinking that we have in the black community, bro, about the N word. Like when it comes from nigga from brother to brother, sister to sister, if one of us say the N word, it ain't no issue. It ain't looked at as disrespect. But if it's said by somebody of another group, then we got a biased set of rules for that. Like, nah, you don't get to say that. So that's a bias, bro. It don't mean we just because we wired a certain way that some of the ways that we wired ain't biased. Some biases we hold on to. This is one of those biases that I don't want to continue to hold on to. So for me, I do believe that the way that young boys, the way that we were taught as young boys, versus the way that the young girls around us were taught, I believe that that's a biased fucking way of thinking.
Hey, Chris, just real quick, my brother, you got a lot of background noise. So if one of us is talking, can you put it on mute? Because it's hard to hear.
Yep. Hold on. Yep, I'm at the locker room at the gym. I'm doing it right now.
Okay, so we my man in the comments said that's a false equivalence. I know it's a false equivalence, bro, but that's what Chris has been giving us all night. He's been giving us these false equivalents instead of sticking to the subject, and he's saying that these things apply in other areas. But that's the problem that you do when you do indirect parallels. You got to do direct parallels. Talk about hypersexuality, bro. So when we're talking about the way that young boys are taught versus the way that young girls are taught, that's a bias. That's a biased way of thinking. There's no way to get around the fact that it's a bias. Now you might be okay with that bias because I was okay with that bias, right? I was the man that said, "Hey, I had this type of sexual history. I don't want the woman that I marry to have that same type of sexual history." So I'm admitting that I was like that, and to me, like that's the first step. Now, am I ever gonna change? No. If me and my wife don't work out, and I ever, heaven forbid, have to look for another wife, I'm still gonna have that same fucking bias. But I'm at least acknowledging and admitting that it was and it is a bias. It's a biased way of thinking, bro. To not expect something from the next person that, you know what I'm saying? I know that men and women generally, in a lot of ways, can be built differently. I know that men, like for instance, men are more visually stimulated when they initially see somebody that they interested in. We more turned on or interested in visual things. A woman might, it might be different for a woman. I understand that there are those differences, but at the same time, the way that we behave, the behavior that we expect out of each other, there are a lot of biases in the way that we hold on to those principles and rules and standards as a culture. So that's the point that I'm trying to make. And I don't know if Wig is making that same point, but I know Chris is saying it ain't
No,
no
no,
bias
yeah,
because we
yeah,
different.
I agree with that, and you were speaking on as far as the nigger, the term nigger. You know what I mean? Like I give you a perfect example. If I got a white boy that I grew up with that started using the word nigga when since we were kids. But we go outside, I'm at the store and somebody bump into me, a white boy say, "Nigga, watch where you going." I'm ready to jump on his head. That is a bias because I'm not jumping on my homeboy that I grew up with saying it, but this stranger, now you say it this stranger says it to me and it sounds different. It sounds wrong. And now,
Yeah.
that is a
It's
bias,
a bias. Like just for us to be real about what the definition of what biases are. There's different biases that we have, and
right.
we just wire those ways, right? And again, some of us, even though the general consensus is most of us may be wired a certain way or hold on to certain rules. Some of us individually might be different. It's some of us, like you said, the example you use, it might be somebody that say, "Oh man, well that's my homeboy," and he can say it, but then you might have a brother that grew up in that same neighborhood that ain't cool with that white boy saying, "I don't give a fuck how long you been here," right? He might not have that same bias,
Bingo. Yep.
right? Like so even though general consensus, it's gonna be some individual one-offs, right? But that doesn't mean that it's still not a bias. The way that we define what a bias is, bro. That's the point that I'm trying to
Right,
like
right, right.
drive home with Chris, bro. Like Chris keep going back to the fact that it ain't no bias, and I just don't see how you can say that, bro.
No,
Like those are biases.
I
Right.
said that I agree that there are certain things could be biased. I'm saying the
Mm-hmm.
things we talking about, the inner dynamics between men and women, are not biased. That's how we wired. Men are
Mm.
hardwired one way, women are hardwired another way. They're not necessarily biased. They're different. Men and women are different. God created us different. They've done research. The way a woman view things, way men view things different. Our bodies are made different. Like if you can just look at skeletons, they can tell if it's a male or it's a female, right? Testosterone. That's why women cannot grow muscle like men because they don't have enough testosterone in their body. We're different.
What does
It
that
ain't
have to? What
necessarily
does
a
that have to do?
bias.
Okay, so here's the bias, Chris. Like,
What
okay,
do the
now
nigga
no
word
no
got to
no.
do with hypersexuality? Y'all just went on
Right,
a whole spiel about
I'm
the
going.
nigga word in neighborhoods. What they got to do with
I'm
hypersexuality?
going back. I'm going back to where you at with it, bro. Like you not even you trying to anticipate my questions. You have no idea what the fuck I'm even saying, my guy. Like let me say what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying, bro. Like if you as a man, you said this, bro. I'm going back to something that you said earlier. You said that a woman's virtue, a woman's purity is valuable to most men, general consensus, right? But you
Yes.
also said that if you meet a woman who's in her 30s and four or 30s, and she's had a couple of kids, but she's telling you she wants to wait, you not gonna deal with her. So how is that? Tell me how is that consistent? Which one do you prefer? Which one are you after as a man? Now I'm going back to you personally as a man. For you to say that these aren't biases, what are you after? Because it sounds like you still want both.
No, it's like this, man. It's like this. And this is my opinion. If you talk to most women that's you will say 35 to 40 years old, ask them, since they we're gonna sit from they was 21 to 41. How many men have probably done had sex with tried to have sex with them, right? Most women got a 90 to probably a 98% failure rate when it comes to men trying to have sex with them. Most women, right? You got some that's very promiscuous, but the majority of women that men that tried to have sex with them, 90 to 98% of them fail. So what I mean by that, when I mean by virtuous
You
or
you just
purity,
throwing
what I mean
these
by it
numbers
is
out, man.
that is a woman is being very selective on who she let have sex with her. I'm not saying a woman can't. I'm not saying that the woman can't. be a virgin. I'm not saying that. I don't want a virgin, right? But what I'm saying is her being selective and being smart when it comes to something that's very important. A woman's purity is important to a man. A man's future, maybe his protection, his confidence, his competency, his earning
But Chris,
potential. Is he able to lead? Them are a lot of factors that
but
are
Chris,
important
you
to
just
a
said,
woman. So that's
Chris,
what I'm
I
saying.
asked you, I'm asking you to go back to your what you said, my nigga.
I just said
You
that. I just
said
told you.
you meet a woman, and she's trying to hold on to her purity while you're dating her. You're gonna not want to have nothing to do with her while you keep talking about how valuable it is.
I
You'll
said
say you're not gonna keep fucking with a woman if she not
I
fucking
said
you
I'm
at
not.
this big
I
ass.
said what I said was I'm not waiting to marriage to fuck no 35, 37-year-old woman. That's what I said. That's what I said. That I'm not gonna be waiting months to have sex with a woman that had multiple kids. But like I
We're not
said,
talking
that's
about
her, and
okay. You said two
I won't
different
get
things.
mad
You
at
said
her.
two different things, or you said marriage, or you said months. Like those are two different
No, I'm
things, my
saying
nigga. Which
I'm
one?
saying if a woman,
Because
I'm saying
I'm
if a
not
woman say
expecting anybody. I don't
here,
expect any man, and this is me. I know what we supposed to do, but I'm not of agreement that you should wait until marriage to have sex. I'm
I'm
not
not
saying
waiting to
that, and I
marriage.
don't think
I'm
none of
not
us
waiting for
said that.
marriage.
None of us prefaced that. None of us prefaced with that.
I
We
ain't waiting to
prefaced it
marriage,
with
and I ain't waiting for months. I'm not waiting marriage, and I'm not waiting for months to have sex with no woman. I'm not doing it
okay.
now. And guess what? I won't be rude or disrespectful about it, and I'll respect her
Okay, but
opinion. It's been women.
that ain't the point. What I'm saying is that's a bias. Like to say, if you're not gonna wait months to have sex with a woman, but at the same time you prefer a woman that is virtuous and is selective about her partners, then that's hypocrite. It's like, bro, how are you?
That's not him.
You're saying both
Hey,
things, and
all right.
you
Well,
don't
check
get
this
that.
out. They asked women. They did a research. They asked women. They said,
There you
"Do
go.
you want
It's
a man to
research,
make?"
bro.
Listen to me.
Bro,
Listen to me. They,
you're gonna have to
No,
give us
see,
the
bro,
source
when
or a
you get
link,
off
bro.
the
You can't
tangent,
just
it's
keep
cool.
throwing this
You were
out.
just talking about the nigga word and dipset and crypt sets and shit, and that had nothing to do with hypersexuality. What
Yeah,
I'm
but we
saying
talking about.
is,
I didn't say that was tied to statistics, though, nigga. You keep
no,
on talking
this is
about
what I'm
research
saying.
and statistics.
All right, check this out. So is it a bias or is it wrong if a woman says, and they done research on this, a woman says she want a man to make 40 to 60% more than her? Is that a bias or that wrong? And that women overall has said
That's a
that.
bias, though.
Overall, women want to make their man to make more than them. So what is that?
That is
Is
a
that a
bias.
bias? Is
Wait a
it
minute,
wrong? What
bro.
is it?
Wait a minute, hold on, bro. Like you asking two questions, bro. Is it a bias? Yes, it's a bias.
Yes.
Like, cause
Okay,
that's
so
what we
okay,
talking about. We talking about biases, bro. Bias way of
okay.
thinking is where this rule doesn't apply for you, but it applies for me. That's a biased
So could
rule.
it be? So could it be men got biases and women got biases, but they not necessarily biases. They're different because men and women are different. Could that be what it is? Could
No,
that
I
be what
mean,
it
that
is?
I mean,
doesn't
you could
change
say,
what a
but
bias is.
you could say that a difference is like a difference can be synonymous with the bias, but it can also be, differences can be as far as roles is concerned. When it comes like the based off part, the reason why we brought up the nigga part, it wasn't about hypersexuality. It's about the bias part. It's the analysis. Like when I use that analysis where I said that the white boy that bumped me, I can get on his head, but my dude that grew up with me, he's okay. Not only am I biased with that, I am also hypocritical. Like you, and that's the point that we're trying to make. Is like when it comes to the point of we're sending our little boys out there to find the fast ones, and then we're also telling these little boys, find you a virtuous one. That is confusing. So now when we grow up, we have to understand, how do we differentiate, and how do we divide? Am I gonna be this nigga that's that looks for the hoes, or am I gonna settle down and find me a virtuous woman? You cannot have both. And that's the problem that we're having. We were taught to do both, but Rodney is saying, no, not no more. It gotta be one or the other. Am I making sense?
Well, I like
That's
I
where
said,
I'm at with it.
I think with this, when it comes to like biases, if one thing is like an overall consensus for one gender, and then I don't necessarily look at that as bias, man. Maybe that just be how women are, or that may be how men could be. I don't look at it necessarily. Now, some things could be a bias, but a lot of things I don't look at it as bias. I look at that to being the difference of a man and woman. right? Because, like a prime example, I got people that got children the same age or close to the same age. You're not talking to a 15-year-old boy the same way you would talk to a 15, 16-year-old girl. Or if I'm dealing with my
Right. Okay,
homeboy,
so
the way I talk to
Chris,
her is not the same that I would talk
this
to
is
a
where it
woman.
is. This is where it is with you, Chris. So when you say that a lot of these things are just the way that men and women are, right? Okay,
Yeah.
I have right. But listen to where I'm going with this, and just give me 90 seconds, if that, bro. And I want you to just try to follow where I'm going with this. A lot of these things are the way that women or men are taught, right? Not naturally. Not you drop a man and a woman naturally in the jungle without any sort of societal or older forms of teaching and the way that they come out. That's how women and men are naturally. But most of these things that we talking about, bro, are the way that we are taught, the way that we are wired to be, right? So as a man, there are some things that you do naturally that women don't do, but most of the things that we are talking about are taught and learned behaviors. They're not behaviors that came without influence of some older entity that taught us that man or women was supposed to be this way or were supposed to value certain things. So I think we need to be intentional, bro, and specific when we speaking on. Be careful when we say the way that men and women are, because we leaving off that last word. It's the way that men and women are taught to be. It's about teachings, bro. It's about influences. All of these things are influences. None of the ways the habits, the habits and behaviors that we learn as it pertains to sex, that we develop habits over, bro. Like that shit was taught and learned behavior. That shit wasn't just learned naturally, nigga. We didn't just come into the world naturally feeling this way, naturally knowing what to do. We have some natural instincts about us as men and women, but those are our basic instincts, bro. I'm talking about beyond that. I'm talking about our behaviors, which are different than instincts.
Agreed. Agreed. And
Hey,
and and
like I said, man. Hey, I value your opinion. I respect your opinion, but like I said, I disagree. I disagree. I think, like I said, men and women are like that's the hill I'm on. Men and women are different, right? So, like I said, like prime example, like if a man dressing up like a woman or a woman dressing up like a man, like that's not natural. Homosexuality and all that shit not natural and it's frowned upon. Women are more gender fluid. That's why gay men, gay women will be having they are female friends. That's why men don't hang with gay men. So should we change that? So that behavior need to be changed? That's what you're saying? Like that's women are just women.
Listen,
That women are.
listen.
Hey, y'all need.
I'm
I got
not,
a good book for y'all to read. I got a good book for y'all to read. It's
bro.
called Boy
You,
Crisis. Read the book
you
called
can't
Boy
you can't
Crisis,
keep
and it
asking.
breaks down a
You
lot
gotta
of
ask
things.
you gotta ask the questions, and then you gotta allow us to answer them, bro. Listen,
Yeah, but I'm just
those
saying
are
though.
biases. Listen to what I'm
Okay.
saying. Those are still biases. Like by definition, those are biased ways of
Oh, okay.
thinking. Whether or not I feel like all biases need to change, that's not the point that I'm making here tonight, Chris. So I don't. I'm admitting that there are biases that won't ever change with me. Should they be taught differently for the next generation? Absolutely, I agree with that. I agree that if I can identify certain biases that were more harmful than they were helpful or effective, that made me a better human, then those biases should not continue to be taught to the next generation. That's the point that I'm making tonight. I think that's what Donald was saying a little bit earlier. We still have to admit that they biases, but all biases. No, we're not saying that all biases are going to be changed within all of us. I'm saying that there are certain biases, and that being one of them. Talking about the concept of hypersexuality, what we really teaching young boys is you're supposed to get out here and be able to have your cake and eat it too. And as a boy that was taught that, as a man that grew up and still believed that, I do still believe I was supposed to be able to have my cake. And when I was ready to sit down and eat my cake, I was supposed to be able to eat it again. I do believe that. But is it a biased way of thinking? Absolutely, it's a biased way of thinking. Just a professor is in the comments, bro, and I just want to make sure I'm clear on what I'm saying to you, bro. I'm saying that there was a certain point in time before I met my wife where if I met a woman, I was exactly like Chris. I wasn't going to wait because I wasn't interested in a wife. I wasn't interested in a partner. And so you asking how soon did I expect to have sex? So I'm gonna give you a window, Professor, because I want everybody in the room. We being open, honest, and vulnerable. I want everybody to understand who they talking to. Professor, I'm gonna give you a window before I met my wife. Okay, if I met a woman, I expected to fuck her within 4 hours to maybe 4 weeks. That was the window that I
Agreed.
gave you. Okay, now
Agreed.
this is
4 weeks,
this is
4 dates.
for 4 hours to 4 weeks. And Chris said something about dates, but I'm just speaking from a personal standpoint. When I was at this stage in my life, I didn't date anybody. I never went on a date with any woman that hadn't already fucked. I know a lot of brothers did that and they had a different culture out here. That wasn't me. I grew up in the projects. I was taught a real misogynistic way of fucking thinking. Almost to the point where you know, it's the general consensus to go out, date women, spend money on the dates, pay for the dates. We wasn't taught that in the projects. Coming from where I came from, even to take a woman out to eat was tricking on a woman, so you didn't do that. So
Come
that
on
was how
now, preach.
misogynistic. That was how misogynistic the level of thinking that I came into my adulthood with, Professor. And I'm just trying to make sure I answer your question. So for me, it was between 4 hours and 4 weeks. If I didn't hit it by then I really wasn't concerned about it. Not saying that I cut her off because she might eventually still give me that pussy, but I didn't really give her a lot of attention at that point. If she missed that mark, 4 hours to 4 weeks, okay. When I was ready to settle down, bro, and I prayed to God for the type of partner that I was looking for, bro, I wanted a virtuous woman, and sex was the thing that I wanted to focus on the least for me, right? So I'm saying that I was that nigga that had my cake and I was ready to eat it too. Okay, so I got to answer that question from two different mindsets. Now that I'm on the other side of the fence, bro, I always understood that it was a bias and that it was a hypocritical way of thinking. But at the same time, it's one of those things where I have to admit that it's not something that should continue to be taught. And that's the point that I'm making. It's not something that should continue to be taught. And I think that most men, general consensus, most black men right now would also agree that it's not something that should continue to be taught. Now, everybody has their own different opinion. I think Brother Chris definitely has a different way of thinking on that, and I respect that with his opinion and point of view as well. But I'm just speaking for me personally. Yes, I truly believe that it is a biased way of thinking that should not continue to be taught to our next generation of young men. If anybody else can agree or disagree with that, but that's just me personally where I stand.
Oh man, I think you hit the nail on the head. Uh, we if for the audience, I do know Holly Rod. And he's correct. We were taught misogynistic like that. Uh, I mean, he went to college. I went to the military. We both graduated 1997. You see what I'm saying? Same year, same school, same everything.
Yikes.
So he went to college. I went to the military. And when I tell you, that's exactly how we were. That's exactly how we were. And like you said, it was the maturity part. It was we got to thinking like, man, something is not right. You get this feeling, and like what you were talking about, Chris. I get what you're saying with that differences, like how men are protective and women are more nurturing. You know what I mean? But a bias is something that can be changed. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm a protective man from the to the rooter to the tutor to the grave. I'm gonna always be protective. My wife is a nurturer. She's gonna be that all the way to the grave. But that misogynistic way and that thought process of, if you're not gonna give me some, I'm gonna move on to the next. Yes, that can be changed. And that can be changed, within your own family, and then if you got some type of influence, you could do it in the crowd way. You see what I'm saying? So basically, yeah, we do want to stop that bias. You know what I mean? And just to put this out there for the for everybody that's listening in the audience. If you don't know what a bias is, I'm just going to tell you the definition: prejudice in favor of or against one thing, person, or group compared with another, usually in a way considered to be unfair. And that's the double standards that we were talking about. How we were looking for the freak, and then at the same time we're looking for the virtuous woman. And we need to go ahead and stop doing that and teaching our kids that. We need to, if that, like, we want to teach our kids about the virtuous woman from the beginning. The world will teach them about the freaks.
Amen. Hey man, hey look, I'm looking at the time, bro, and I know we can go on and on and on about this particular subject, this bias, double standard in general. But man, we got to be respectful of everybody's time and night, and I know we got Thursday night football popping off for any of the NFL fans out there. So everybody that did appreciate tune in and participate, we do appreciate y'all as always. Um, the next episode that will air on the podcast streaming apps, YouTube and Facebook, will be from the sisters, and that will be their season finale. So this was the last unpacking from the brother side of the panel, but we will be joining back in when the sisters do the unpacking for the season finale. So we'll all be joining back in for that. But in the meantime, in between time, man, appreciate everybody for joining in. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media. And it's been a wonderful season, man. And we'll see y'all next season, bro. Well, we'll see y'all for the
All right, man.
sisters unpacking, and then we'll see y'all next season for the brothers. But appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate everybody's
Yeah,
opinion and feedback.
Appreciate
yeah,
it, man.
appreciate
God
having
bless
me,
you.
man. Appreciate you having me.
Yes.
Good dialogue. Uh, I'll take some things y'all say in consideration. I mean, I'm gonna be what I'm gonna be, but I'll say y'all had some good points. But I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on, though.
Right on, man. And as always, man, peace, love, and blessings to everybody. And I hope we heal. I'll holler at y'all in a minute.